Hi, Misha here, and let's talk about a very interesting, very all-purpose craft that dates back to the Clone Wars and really ran through the early Empire and into the Rebellion period. This is the Low Altitude Assault Transport, the LAAT, manufactured by Rothana Heavy Engineering. And I have several different little models here. I didn't actually mean to have this many, but like 3 of them came to me by accident. And yeah, anyway, different paint schemes and stuff. Over here I have 3 from the early Titanium series. And then I have 1 from the Black series, the new Titanium. And then 1 from the newer Hot Wheels lineup. All are technically die-cast. Anywho, the LAAT came in several varieties. This is probably the most common one, the LAAT/I, which stood for infantry. And it's kind of an interesting application. This is considered a repulsor lift craft, so not unlike, say, a snow speeder or speeder bike. They could be launched from orbit, from, say, an Acclamator or Venator Star Destroyer, and they could go either to a planet's surface or across space to a space station or ship. But if they hit a gravity well, like a planet, they could not go back to their command ship on their own power. They would carry about 8 hours worth of fuel to hover or cruise. Essentially, this is modeled after a helicopter, at least inspired by one, specifically the Mill Mi-24 Hind. You can tell by the cockpit setup. You have a pilot and gunner here. Those are the true crew that are required. Then in addition, you can have 2 to 4 gunners, and the infantry version could carry up to 30 clone troopers, as well as up to 4 speeder bikes, and even had a medical droid on board for kind of first aid. It wasn't especially fast. It was about 620 kilometers per hour. It did have a shield. Part of it was to keep everything sealed up if it was in space. Typically, it did not have a hyperdrive, though. And it had various systems for deploying the troops. And it had pretty good armament. Up front, we have 2 anti-personnel lasers on swiveling mounts. We have a 3rd anti-personnel laser in the back to cover that. And then we have these 2 launchers here that fired kind of air-to-surface or air-to-air missiles. Each one held 30 rounds and were belt-fed. And then finally, under the wings, there could be up to 4 heavy rockets under each. And on top of that, you'll notice these ball turrets. These are composite lasers, and these were remote controlled. But bring out the Hot Wheels here, because it's the one that has it. You could also have 2 more composite laser turrets here, and these would be on movable mounts, and these could have a clone gunner in each one of these. But they were optional. The mounts are removable. With them gone, you could either just have 2 more doors here, or you could install other equipment, for example, searchlights, sensor packages, search and rescue gear, what have you. It's just kind of a modular setup. So you can tell it's a pretty well-armed craft. Now, a lot of times they would fly with these doors open, but they could fold in either for space operations or just for better armor protection. And these were used for a variety of missions. Here's the other Black Series. You can see with the doors closed up here. This one doesn't have the ball turrets, but it does have the closed doors. Interestingly, these guns do pivot on this. And I believe this back one does a little bit too. Yeah, kind of neat. Let's see if it opened. I don't think so. Anyway, in addition to being a troop transport, these were used for reconnaissance. They were used as an assault craft, kind of an air-to-surface bomber. And they could even be used as a de facto starfighter. I mean, they were heavily armed, but yeah, not the fastest and not the most maneuverable. They seem to be about 28 meters long, although there are different variants and configurations. Like I said, this is the LAAT I. There was also a larger version for, actually I think these were about, the LAAT I was about 18 meters. The larger version I believe was about 28, and it was the LAAT C for cargo, often called the tank transporter. Instead of carrying troops, it was mostly configured to carry a heavy vehicle, say an AT-TE, or an assault tank, or a troop transport inside the bay, like an APC. And it typically just had a crew of 2, eschewing the extra guns and stuff, although it would continue to have the missile launchers and at least the anti-personnel guns. There was also an even smaller version, under 12 meters, called the LAAT LE, which is more of a law enforcement version used in places like Coruscant. And it did law enforcement things. And furthermore, there was even a space version that is said to have had a hyperdrive and more shielding and, equipment, a gravity net for space operations. So it really was a whole family of craft. Work on these began before the Clone Wars. In fact, some early kind of proto versions could be seen shortly after the whole Naboo incident in 32 BBY, but the actual gunship was ready and had its combat debut at Geonosis in 22 BBY, the events of Attack of the Clones. 6 would come in to kind of rescue the Jedi, and then more would drop more and more clone troopers off. And Venators and Acclimators could carry a lot of these. Acclimators could actually carry more, about 80. Venators would usually have about 40. And it was just kind of the workhorse of the clone armies. Not exactly the easiest thing to fly, kind of maneuvered like it looks, very chunky, but got the job done. So it was very much in active service, unlike a lot of the starfighters in service at the beginning of the Clone Wars. that were replaced by improved models. The LAAT, or LAAT as the clones called it, was very much in widespread active service at the end of the war in 19 BBY, with no real replacement on the horizon. And that's why it continued on into the Empire era, eventually being replaced by different transports and craft as warfare changed. And as you would expect, the rebellion got their hands on a number of these because they were mass-produced and they were rugged, dependable craft. And that is our little gunship here. As far as the diecast models, the award for biggest, and it is a pretty good size, goes to the original titanium. But the doors are fixed in the open position. You can't fold them closed, which I think was a missed opportunity. And you don't have the ball turrets. You can open the cockpit. If I count this or not. There you go. But there's not much to be seen in there. It's all metal, the wings, the body, with only really the guns being plastic. They're actually kind of a flexible plastic, kind of rubbery, keep them from breaking. The bad thing is there are 2 screw holes clearly visible on the side. I'm sure if they could have put them on the bottom, they would have. But not a bad first effort. Moving to the Hot Wheels, this is smaller. And we do get our turrets here. Doors are closed. Our cannons don't move. Anything fancy like that. So not bad. It's still mostly metal, and the good thing is the screw holes are on the bottom now. Much better place for them. And our canopy no longer opens, which they typically don't on the Hot Wheels. But I think probably the best overall is this one, the Black Series Titanium, which is in between sizes. It's smaller than the original titanium, but a little bit bigger than the Hot Wheels, I believe. It does not have the screws on the side or on the bottom. I don't know why with this one they decided to hide the screws, but I wish they did it on all of them. We lose the opening canopy, I think, yeah. But we do get guns that move a bit here and back here. And the doors are closed. I wish they opened and closed, but oh well. I do like them closed better than open if I had to pick. No turrets, but again, without any exposed screws, and with the moving guns, and the nice in-between size. Yeah, I'd say this one's it's my favorite of the options here for the small, kind of micro machine size diecast. So what do you think? I always thought it was the neat ship. I mean, it was even nicknamed in the production notes for Attack of the Clones as the Jedi helicopter, and it really does. It looks in some ways like a Hind, but more importantly, it fills the roles of a helicopter like a Hind, both being for assault and for troop delivery, and also, you know, being a little slow because helicopters. Although, at the time, the Hind was very fast for a helicopter. So yeah, let me know what you think. Which one of these 3 types you like the best. And what you think of the LAAT. here. Again, I think it's a favorite of a lot of people. It's just something very distinctive, and again, it was in pretty much all of the Clone Wars material. So it's just kind of iconic. And it would give LAAT a later repulsor type craft and shuttlecraft seen in Star Wars too. Anyway, feel free to comment below. And as always, if you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.